Guys and gals, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are watching this. Today we are using our Wrd Orange Bat Qc to cut out a windshield. Seen a few different setups for this. I'm going to show you mine. Place my bat about a hand's width below the headliner here. I've seen a number of people that run this all the way up against the top of the headliner, almost just a short gap. And the problem with that is sometimes as this line is riding on here, you're going to pull into the headliner and cut into it. So this is the reason why I set mine down here a little bit lower. Take our poker and drive our line through. More often than not, I've gotten in the habit of running my line above the VIN plate because there are vehicles out there such as Audis and Volkswagens and the new Kias, I believe, where you can catch on the VIN plate and tear it off, and you don't want that to happen. So around here. Make sure we are under the glass here. Just want to make sure you are under the glass and between the glass and the molding, because if you wind up between the panes of glass, all you'll do is break that and cut your line, and that's just frustrating. Nobody wants that to happen. Pull our line across here. Same thing. We're going to take our ever-present mini screwdriver here. Make sure we get underneath the glass along the side here, and take up our slack just like that. All right, now get our guard in here. Now, when you pull your slack up, sometimes this line will fall down here. Be careful, because you can get hung up on these control arms. So the easiest way is to kind of pull it out of the way so you don't get hung up on that, because your power tools don't care about plastic. So you got this fancy little U-lock here that we use oftentimes for cutting out. Which works awesome. And then what I also use is a former screwdriver with the flathead end cut off, because as this starts to spin, when you get to a certain point, you can use that as a drag, which I will demonstrate on the other side and here. So you can cut across. You notice this starts to spin here. All I have to do is grip this a little bit tighter, and it'll allow it to continue to cut in a bandsaw type of motion. And what this also does is this also reduces the amount of tension that you're putting on your line as you're cutting. So with the U-lock here, what can happen is if you pull too far past vertical here, you can increase the tension to the point where you snap your line. So it's just an experience thing. But with the screwdriver here, you kind of avoid that situation. Back over here to the other side, and you'll notice I also placed my bat about halfway between your rearview mirror and your pillar cover, because that seems to allow me the greatest range to cut. And if you do the same thing when you come to this side, leave it a little bit of an angle like you had on the other side, because if you put it too far this way, what'll happen is you'll start to dig into the body of your bat right here over time. So same thing on this side. I'm going to place it about halfway between the pillar and the mirror, and whether you pull the top or the bottom first is entirely preference. I pull the top first because oftentimes what happens when you're pulling the bottom is the glue at the top, which is usually thinner, will actually start to pull across, and while you're paying attention to this coming across the bottom, you can get hung up on the headliner and cut into the headliner up here, where if you pull the top first, then you're already across. You're not going to pull any farther over. The top is done, and you don't have to worry about the headliner until you come up around to this corner over here. Just past vertical, and to the other side. And just like that, you're cut out, and you only had to move your bat once. Now there are going to be those vehicles, those situations where you will have to adjust the bat a number of times to get this final corner. You'll have too much glue in the corner because this windshield's been replaced before. Just an awkward windshield angle. Anything is possible. So, but for the most part, you can usually anchor it here on this side, and then anchor it here on this side and get it cut out by only moving it once. And that is my setup for the QC Orange Bat. Any questions? Hit me up in the comments or email, and until next time.